Glad you could join us. I'm Johnny Walker Dredd with the Johnny Walker Dredd Show. I've got a couple of guests with me. We're going to be talking about Kyle Rittenhouse primarily. In fact, let's just say it. It's going to be all Kyle Rittenhouse tonight. And a lot of people have always been complaining because I've kind of moved away from Kyle for a while now. And they're like, where is our weekly, monthly, or whatever fix of Kyle Rittenhouse? Well, tonight, you got it. All right. So I am Johnny Walker Dredd. If you're interested in the Kenosha shootings or Kyle Rittenhouse and all that, I'm the person you need to go to as far as videos go. My my channel is quite easily the most prolific in terms of the Kenosha shootings. I got over 400 videos on the Kenosha shootings and Kyle Rittenhouse and all the others involved in that. I have a couple of guests with me. How about Allie? Why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay. Oh, hello everyone. I'm Allie, and my handle on Twitter X is all for self-defense. And I've been following Kyle for quite a while. In the beginning, I thought Kyle was another active shooter. I was listening to the media until I actually watched the trial and watched all his interviews, listened to what he had to say, and also uh, in regards to the trial and also all the videos and everything like that. And then I realized I was wrong. So I did a 180.
Huh.
Yep.
So it was
Now,
after the trial was over that when you kind of changed your opinion?
yes, I changed my opinion because I didn't see what the media portrayed him was totally they actually was talking about him and falsifying a lot of stuff that he didn't do. Like his mom drove him, which he drove
More on
himself. So a
that.
lot of different things. Yes. Yes. So it was wrong.
Mhm.
So I felt really bad. Yeah. I'm from
And sh-
Northern California, and I have stage 3 non-Hodgkin follicular lymphoma. And I just recently got news that I finished my 6 rounds of chemo and infusion, and I'm in remission right now.
That is
Congratulations.
Yes.
That's
that is just
wonderful news.
awesome. I'm pretty sure almost
Thank you.
everybody knows somebody that suffered that, and the word remission is just like the most relieving word you can hear when they give you news.
Oh, yes, yes. It
Oh,
was
man.
so nice. After the 6th round, I'm so glad it's all over. Until next time, we'll see. Because follicular lymphoma, what happens is it's almost like diabetes, so it could come back. Hmm.
Keep an
Yeah.
eye on it, you
Yes,
know.
I have to keep an eye
And
on
keep
it.
us up to date. Keep us up to date.
Okay, will do. Thank
Hey,
you.
Sean, how about you?
Yeah, I'm Dr. Sean Accelerate Esquire. I'm as much of a doctor and as much of a lawyer as Rashad Ritchie. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's my alias on Twitter at SEANTZIZL. I'll type it in the chat if you want to follow me. Used to do a lot of streaming. Was one of the early adopters on the Kyle Rittenhouse story. We would stream about it a lot. And I found Johnny Walker Dread. I think you were on like dumb argument number 30, which that didn't take you very long to get there.
It's up to 90 now.
Yeah, like there's 90 now. So yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so we had him on, and ever since then we've talked. See, we saw eye to eye on the whole Kyle Rittenhouse thing. Also, I just want to give a shout out. I actually have been streaming again lately. I am regularly on a Twitch stream called Gaming and Yelling. Uh, we play games and we BS. It's not really political, but it's a fun time. So if that's your thing, just check us out.
like, do you want to put something in the chat for somebody to go follow or
Yep,
help them?
yep. I'll type it all in the chat here in a sec.
And we have the liquidator, as always. He's always there for our
Yes.
streams. Just another dude is in. Yeah, time to straighten out a thing or two. Absolutely. We're going to straighten out a lot tonight. Not that it'll have any lasting effect, but you know how that goes. All right. And by the way, I was just speaking to Wendy Rittenhouse, Kyle's mother. It's Easter, and I think she's missing her kid a lot. She said here, I do worry about Kyle and his safety, and Milo too. And every time I see the protesters, rioters, just brings back So many memories. Yeah, I can imagine from that night, and it just gives me anxiety and panic attacks. You imagine you're the mother and you're seeing your son doing these public appearances, and there's like hundreds of people that want to basically dismember him, right? Of course, he's got great security, and the chances of him actually getting hurt are pretty minimal. But at the same time, as a mother, you have to worry.
Um,
Um,
when I said I know we're going to get into this more, but I said it pre-stream is the one thing I haven't seen in these few protests is the levels of violence that I saw for like when Ben Shapiro showed up to a Missouri campus, when Milo Yiannopoulos showed up to Berkeley. Uh, it hasn't gotten there with Kyle, which is a good thing, and I hope it never does.
yeah, right, right. And I mean, the whole thing is so absurd because you talk to these protesters, right? And they say, we don't want Kyle here because that audience is violent. They're going to come here and cause all kinds of violence. So what we're going to do is we're going to get in their face. Right? It's
Yeah,
like,
they
yeah,
call
I
you're scared of
know.
them.
there's actually a term for that people read, which is the iron wall of woke projection.
The
They're
iron
more
wall of
violent.
woke
The
projection.
iron law of woke projection. Like iron as in it's solid. Every
Right.
time they say stuff like that, what they're really doing is admitting to what they're going to do if they don't get their way.
And keep in mind, they have a vested interest in stoking violence because if they can get the number of threats up high enough, then they can go to the university and say that you got to
Yep.
cancel the event because this is going to be so violent.
Well, and
So
it that stopped working though because the courts have been ruling that like you can't just succeed to the heckler's veto.
the heckler's veto, yeah. And by the way, let me read some more on. I asked her, "What would you like me to say to him?" Because I don't know if he's watching tonight or not. He's blocked me on Twitter, but he said that I love him and I miss him and Milo and be safe. I'm always a phone call away. And Mama Bear will always have his back. And Grandma Bear for Milo. Um, so, it's Easter. Hey, Kyle, if you're listening, call your mother. It's Easter. Come on. Seriously. She's worried about you. And, despite any kind of tensions you've had, disagreements or whatever, she's still your mother. Any comments?
Yes, I hope they work things out.
I mean, yes,
Yeah,
obviously.
Mhm.
yes.
Like, come on, it's
I
your
hope,
family, dude.
yeah, I hope they start talking again.
I think it's just a matter of time. Like I was still
Yeah.
rebellious. It's like I think there's an Adam Sandler skit. It's in what is it, Funny People, where he's talking about how like when you're like in your 20s, you're like screw my parents, they don't know anything. And like when you're in your
Yeah.
30s, you're like that's when you start being like screw the president, he doesn't know anything. And then when you get in your 40s, you're like I'm hungry. What's in the fridge? So I think Kyle Rittenhouse is still like screw my parents, man, they don't know anything.
By the way, we're missing Kayla tonight. I was really hoping that she could join
I
in.
know. Wonder if she's sleeping.
Well, maybe.
She's
Probably
always
had a long
around.
shift
I think
at
so.
work.
I
Yeah.
think she might be sleeping.
Okay, we have a comment here.
Okay.
Kyle has really let himself get carried away with the fame he's been getting. I think we can agree with that. I mean, that doesn't make him a
Well,
bad person, but
yeah.
what do you think, Alice? I mean, you kind
I
of
don't,
follow him more than we do. So what do you think?
yes. It's kind of hard to say because people are putting him up there. They're asking him to, be a speaker. They're giving him the platform. And of
Right.
course, you know, if you were Kyle, wouldn't you basically kind of do the same thing, especially if that's what your interest is in regards to the Second Amendment, the First Amendment, and in regards to, he loved guns,
Mhm.
and he's
And you
able
have
to
to put
carry
yourself
one
in the
now.
mind of you have to put yourself in the mind of a 22-year-old.
20-year-old. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Just think back when you were 22. What did you do?
Yeah, I mean, what would I do if I was in his shoes? I don't know. Maybe I'd do the same thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
There's a very good chance that I would look. There's going to be differences because I'm a different person, but
Yes.
most likely If that's the opportunity afforded to me and I got screwed over as bad as he did, of course I am. I'm gonna suck it up. Like I'm gonna
Mhm.
go right into it.
Yeah,
I don't
and
like
my
it, and I would have taken the I would wanted the advice of people like you and me. We're just like, dude, fade into the sunset. Like go live your life. Be what did you want us to be? Like
Yeah.
a nurse, a lawyer. Go do that. Like eventually people will forget about you. You'll be fine.
Mhm. But I am concerned in regards to him talking on campus. I think he should kind of, not do that
Mhm. Yeah, are you kind of worried about it?
for his safety. Yeah, for his safety,
Mhm.
because I'm not I'm I'm not worried about Kyle, defending himself. I'm just worried about people hurting him or anybody else, that's bad.
Well, Kayla was playing on PS4. Hey, Liquidator, tell her to get on here. She has the invite in her direct message. Would love to have her
Yes,
on. I mean, this if there's one show she should be on, this is going to be a good one because I
yes.
would love to get her input on this.
Oh,
Kayla's
thanks.
really brazen.
Thanks for quoting me.
Okay, so and I don't think I have anything else to talk about up until we can start now watching these shows, right? And so here's our first one. Oh boy. And I'm going to be especially interested in getting the response back from Allie on this one. This is going to be good. She goes, oh, yep, 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 yep.
I'm just texting her. Come on.
Oh, okay. All right. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Here we
Ready when
go.
you are.
It's sad for Kyle Rittenhouse that somebody put in that 16-year-old's mind at the time
Mhm.
to go down there and take your AR-15 or whatever weapon you had and go down there and defend the patriots or this country in some business that was none of yours.
None of yours.
You didn't even live in the same city.
Not even the same state.
Not right. Not even the same state.
That's sad.
And who dropped him off
His mother.
over his mother?
Oh,
When was this video made?
It
when
just
was
came
this
out.
made?
No
Oh my
excuse.
gosh.
No excuse.
Yeah, 6 hours ago. Is that recent enough for you?
Yeah, no excuse.
Wow.
If
See,
this
they're
was
still
made,
spreading the lies.
yeah, if this was made like a week after the shooting, then I'd be like, okay, whatever. But no, there's no excuse now. Even Anna
Okay.
Kasparian has come to the conclusion that
All right. I
she
have to
was
play
lied
this.
to about these things.
Oh yeah, I know. I know. She has kind of turned around. Here we go.
I did not drive Kyle to Kenosha because that's always every time I swap it out. His mom drove him to Kenosha. They didn't watch the trial. I
Yeah.
did not drive him.
Even the prosecution had stated that my mother did not drive Kyle to Kenosha.
Yeah.
Even the prosecutor had.
Okay, so I had to play that in there just in case anybody came across this stream, because we got to set the story straight on this, right?
Yeah,
Um,
come on, like 17. I had my license at 16. I know you were, Johnny, you were driving at what, 14 or 15?
14.
Yes.
I drove around picking up leaves and stuff from my dad because my dad was a Section 8 housing renter. So he needed
Mhm.
somebody to drive around and pick up all the garbage that he pull out of, typical landscape and stuff like that. And, I was 14 years old. So I was driving around and I drove to my actual driver's license training classes at the high school.
You did.
Yeah. And
What
so,
about you?
I've been
What
driving
about you,
go-karts
Sean?
since like 10,
Oh
How
my
about me?
gosh.
What? Like when I
How
was
old?
driving?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I started driving as soon as I turned 16.
Mhm.
The funny part about that too is I live in Kansas City, Missouri, which the Kansas City metro area spans between Missouri and Kansas. So I worked in Overland Park, Kansas, the entire time I was in high school. So I'd always drive there, and I was just like, they're sitting there telling me I didn't even live in the state. If I was to happen to have went to try to defend the Mr. Goodsense that was right next door to the building I worked in, because I cared about that building and the franchise owners that owned it, and they gave me a lot of free sandwiches.
Wait a minute. Did you ever cross state lines?
I did. I was
Oh
super
no.
guilty of that.
We're
That's the
gonna have
only
to boot him.
that is actually the only thing they're getting right in this article is Kyle Rittenhouse is 100% guilty of crossing state lines.
State lines. Yeah, but he was a border kid. He only lived a mile away from the
Oh,
state border.
yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make. I was
Crazy. Yeah.
just as guilty as he was, so I should probably have life in prison.
Well, I'll tell you something. Um, I have on my channel, if anybody wants to know what the drive was like for Kyle, I actually went on Google Maps Street View and drove the distance to the state line. And I
Yeah,
mean,
it was like
Saw that.
it was like 10 clicks.
Well, you never saw that there, Ally?
I saw that.
Oh yeah, of
I
course
saw
you
your
have, 'cause you
video.
follow
Mhm.
my channel, right?
I do.
So, okay, let's go ahead and get on back here. Let's listen to some more.
Dropped him off into that war zone, and I won't say war zone, into that protest.
Yeah.
Right. And
Oh, it
Yeah,
was a war zone.
we don't want to say war zone. He goes war zone. Oh wait, whoa. I didn't want to say that.
Yeah. Residents said it looked like a war zone. Even the authorities, they both did.
and with the weapon though.
Mhm.
Now, what does that say? What does that say about parenting?
Well, it's funny because, as you know, the state of Tennessee right now did they pass it or they're trying to pass where parents can be liable for their
Yeah.
children's crimes, right?
And there's only one small problem with that. Kyle was never convicted of a crime, so you're going to have a hard time doing anything with Wendy. We got a lot of this. What about now? What about Wendy? Are we going to go after her? Well, you have to convict the son or daughter of a crime first. They are so stupid. This is where it's like, this is beyond just being misinformed. This is just stupid. What else can you say? Go.
I don't know. Yeah, it's common sense.
Yeah, and again, I want to make sure everybody understands. You know, I played the clip. Wendy Rittenhouse, Kyle's mother, had nothing to do with him having a gun. Nothing at all. She didn't buy the gun for him. She didn't let him play with a real gun when he was a kid. That photograph that you see, that's a fake gun. It's a toy gun. And it wasn't even Kyle's, it was his cousins or friends. All right. She didn't buy him a gun, had nothing to do with the gun purchase, and didn't even want him to have one, and got mad when he told her he had, sort of gotten one, even though it was Dominic Black who bought the gun and kept it. She
Yes,
did not.
and she also texted him saying that she didn't want him to go anywhere near there. And
Right.
Kyle said that I kind of have to. And then she said for work. And he said yes. And that's why he drove himself to work.
Right. As just iterating what Allie said, she did not know that he was at the protest, obviously didn't drive him there. She didn't even know he was there. She didn't drive him to Kenosha. Had nothing to do with Kyle being at the protest. Everybody, please get this right. It's one thing, Kyle has kind of got himself into a little bit of a political conundrum here, but at least he did something. He did pull the trigger. Wendy had nothing to do with anything, and she gets blasted all the time.
And it wasn't really a protest. It ended, and it was mostly rioting for 3 days.
Oh, I agree with that. Sure. I mean, I say protest, but you know what I mean. Sean, how about you?
With everything going on in this video, I think I've already made my comments about it. Like, there's nothing else for me to say.
Okay.
That's fine. That means we're doing our job, right, Allie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. And you remember the white kid who shot up the other white kids, they just charged his parents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, wow. But Kyle,
of course, mentioning the fact that they're white is somehow important.
Rittenhouse and his mom are treated like American heroes.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, so which is it?
Yeah. Well, it's only for the black parents.
Yeah. And it's not even for the black parents to keep us safe, like that law. Now, Antonio was talking about, I want to make sure that parents are responsible for their kids' crimes. Yeah. I'd be willing to engage in that conversation, right? Yeah.
It's sad for Kyle.
Hey, you want to engage in the conversation? come on my show and we'll debate it. You know, I mean, I've challenged
Oh, you're gonna
many
see.
people.
Yeah, you're gonna create a whole bunch of cognitive dissonance that's just going to make them very, very angry.
Yeah, and as you say, you know how those things are going to
Johnny's a
go.
good debater.
Well, the trouble is that you're going up against people who don't understand the rules of debate, and it
Yeah,
becomes a matter of shouting the loudest. I mean, take a look. Have you ever seen Rashad Ritchie's bullpen? Okay, where he invites some right winger on, and it basically is just him shouting the other person down, then throwing him off the air, and then claiming victory. He does it every time.
I don't.
But
You
and
said
that's what
Johnny's a
could
good
happen.
debater, but I don't. I mean, maybe he is, Johnny.
Mhm.
But I know that if you're going to debate on Kyle Rittenhouse, you're going to win because it's hard to lose a debate when you have so much facts and so much evidence on your side. It's overwhelming. Like it's to the point where even like I said, even Anna Kasparian had to change her mind, and left wingers that I think are mostly blowhards like Destiny recognize this was self defense. I think even with David Packman, after going through all the stuff, he's just like he did that cop out thing where he's like, well, technically it was self defense, but he shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
At least then, though, like he's still being pretty honest about the facts.
David Packman will come to grips with the facts. I remember he did one thing on the whole police deal with shooting of blacks, and he was actually on spot. He actually looked at the research, did the control of the variables he was supposed to, and came to the conclusion that this whole thing about police brutality against African Americans is largely a myth. I could not believe it. I'm thinking, this
Yeah,
is David Packman, but he will do that. I mean,
yeah. It
Anarchist
turns out some of
Theory will on
these
some occasions.
independent leftists actually do have a little bit of integrity.
Yeah, I can't get. Okay, that's another thing is we've all been through this before. You're on Twitter, somebody says something stupid, which is typically on their end. You come back, and you know what's going to happen. They're going to either ignore you, and you never hear from them again, which is most of the time. They come back with some silly meme. They insult you. Um, you all know the tricks, right? And I've never I don't think I've ever debated anybody for any real length of time and never been stymied because ultimately they're always coming to the debate with the wrong facts.
Yes,
You know,
or they'll
and
make up something or they'll throw Trump in there. I just don't understand that.
Trump, whenever you're losing, mention Trump.
They always throw in Trump and they always throw in racists,
Well,
but he shot white people. It doesn't make sense.
yeah. Hold on. This is something I've said for a long time, and it's going to be really relevant to the video that's coming up soon.
Yep.
Kyle Rittenhouse is not famous for killing two people. He's not even famous for being a victim. Kyle Rittenhouse is famous because he has one of the most well documented, like you've never had so much video evidence of a self defense case ever,
Hmm.
and it was so obviously self defense. Yet he has been persecuted to the end, and he still is. Like to this day, people cannot wrap their brains about it, and they use him as a proxy in the culture war for Trump. That's what he is.
Exactly.
Like he's the
He's an
equivalent.
easier target.
He's the equivalent of a proxy war in the
Hmm.
so-called culture war.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I consider him the most persecuted teenager in modern times. I don't know. Keep in mind, there was a defense fund put up to get him money so that he could defend himself in court, and they kept throwing him off of that. I mean,
Yep.
they were trying to starve his defense of money just so that they could score a victory against him. I don't think I've ever heard of that before. Not against a teenager.
Not against a teenager, but when it comes to this cultural war battles, it was pretty common, right? Like they took away bank accounts from the Proud Boys. Like these are other are like conversations we could have, but uh, like the whole cancel culture thing. The reason they do that, it's pretty effective. Like not everybody has the money or funds to come back from that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was Wendy who was on our show that told us she got kicked off, I think, of like 5 platforms in a row where they were trying to raise money for Kyle's defense. And look, if you don't like, if you think somebody's guilty, you can still raise money for them because ultimately, in the end, if the facts are against them, they will be found guilty. Why does it hurt you? Why do you have to bankrupt their defense? Let them defend themselves. Same thing with Crystal Kaiser. If she raises a whole bankroll of money for her defense, I'm fine with that. I think she's absolutely guilty. I think she is a murderous, violent individual. But at the same time, I have no trouble with her mounting an effective defense because then, if the facts are on her side, she gets acquitted. Okay, good. The facts were on her side. Then I'm good with an acquittal. I don't think she's going to be acquitted, but ultimately, in the end, she does have good lawyers, and good. I'm glad of it. All right. But
This actually kind of plays into a comment I just made in Twitter where somebody was talking about. They were talking about like Trump, right? Like the 91 counts against him, and they were saying he's not being held accountable. But this plays into this entire thing, and I think this is absolutely true. Especially if you've watched the first episode of the Three Body Problem, you'll understand exactly what this reference is. But like communist, or I know a lot of people have a problem with me calling people communists, but there is a lot of this ideology is coming from Marxism, but they
right.
think due process itself is a lack of accountability. What they want him to do, they want Kyle to be put on stage, admit his sins against the people, and then beat him to death while the crowd chants how the revolution is justified.
Yeah, the AR-15 is that thing that prevents them from being able to take over. And ultimately, people like Kyle who arm themselves are their enemy because it prevents them from being able to essentially push society around. Now, no longer can you loot stores during a protest because you bust in the store, you don't know what kind of hail of gunfire you're going to walk into. And that's what really bothers them. They want the society disarmed so that they can tear the hell out of it.
I
Sorry,
mean, it's
I
it's
absolutely
it's
believe that.
it's it's actually no, it's in the writings. Like if you look at like the writings of any of the neo-Marxists, or you can call them the critical theories or critical studies or grievance studies, whatever you want to call it, you're going to see over and over again this idea of disrupting and dismantling the current system.
Yes. Now that there's a lot of illegals that are coming in, like how many is there? Like 15 million? And a lot of them are men coming in. I think the other countries don't want their criminals, so they're sending them over here.
Yeah, they were all okay with it until like it blew up in their face. Yeah, some of the European countries are really suffering at this point, and quite frankly, fine, good, let them have it. I mean, I don't care. They invited it. Like, there's one exception: Poland. Poland ain't doing it. And
And the
but anyway,
taxpayer are paying for it.
we could talk about this for a long time, but we really need to get on to this video here. This is by the Cartier family, or Cartier family, or Cartier. I don't know how to pronounce it. Ali, do you know how to pronounce it?
I just pronounce it Cartier.
Okay. Oops. I need to. Okay, here we go. At any rate, I don't even know if they're really related, but there's four dudes, and
I
they're
think they're
talking about
brothers.
the Kyle Rittenhouse case. I'm sorry, what?
I think they're brothers.
Oh, really? All four of them?
Hmm.
Because they look very similar in age. So I kind of thinking that maybe they're just.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't sure,
So
but
when I listen to these dudes, like I just want to give my impression of them. They seem like these normal guys. They're not watching CNN or YouTube videos or what. Like when they have time to relax, they're probably playing Madden against each other, and then they come across stuff and they talk about it, and they're just forming their opinions based on whatever they can find at the time. Like they're not. They don't come across as ideologically involved in politics at all.
they could be
Yeah.
cousins too,
But the
brothers and
reason why I
cousins.
like this is it does show you what the average person does approaching this deal. Because I don't know about you, I wear my free Kyle caps. I got 2 of them, and for the most part, people don't know much about the Kyle Rittenhouse shootings at all. Most of the time, I have to tell them because they'll ask me, "What's the free Kyle thing?" Well, Kyle Rittenhouse. Well, who's that? I remember the Kenosha shootings. Oh yeah, I think I heard something about that. That's kind of the conversation I get, right? So Kyle is not nearly as famous as people think he is until he goes on a college campus. But
That and Twitter.
anyway, the average person doesn't know much about the Kenosha shootings. They kind of heard about them. They remember a few years ago something about them. And I think this is a very good expose on those kind of people talking.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, are you guys
Totally
ready?
agree.
Here we go.
Agree.
And I'll stop at about every maybe 30 seconds or so, okay?
We appreciate all of the support from you guys, and we are working very hard on the next drop. The Pursue Your Dreams tee will only be available for a few more days, so be sure to go to can'tfold.com today and get your order.
Yep. He's touring, basically lecturing at universities. Obviously, there's significant backlash.
By the way, if anybody doesn't know, that's Rashad Ritchie on the bottom right. He's a #1 grade A jackass, and I have turned my guns on him. If you don't like Rashad Ritchie, you really need to subscribe to my channel. I have over 30 videos on that dude, and mostly on his fake academic degrees. And he claims now 11 degrees, and quite frankly, I think he might have 2 legitimate ones. But that's another story altogether. And it's vast, it's weird, it's wild. If you're interested in academic fraud, tune in to my my videos on Rashad Ritchie because he does it by the truckload. Okay, here we go.
Put up one of the promotions. Look at that.
Oh, okay.
He's famous because he shot people. Wow.
Okay, hold on.
Where Atlanta Black?
I actually don't know what happened in that situation. Someone explain that to me.
All I remember, I think he pulled up to a protest.
Pulled
up to a protest and he shot 3 people. I think one of them was like a sex offender, and one of them was he hit 3 bad people.
That's insane.
They attacked him. Yeah, that's what I remember.
But
I remember a gun on them.
Okay, so he was at a protest. Some people attacked him, and then he retired.
Well, he was there with an AR-15 though. Walking around with an AR-15.
Oh, like he was security or something.
Yeah. Nah, he was just. I don't know why he was. Walking
he was trying to protect the land.
But technically, he got away with it because the people did attack him and pull a gun on him first. And then
Okay, how about some comments? Allie, what do you think?
I think they're just going over and they don't really know much about the Kyle Rittenhouse case, but at least they're being, objective and everything like that. They're not, following the media. They're just, at least they know some of the information. A little bit more logical than a lot of other people.
Sean?
Yeah, at this point, everything they're just brainstorming, and everything they're saying sounds very rational, even though this story is heavily biased.
They haven't been poisoned yet, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, we'll play some more. Did they say anything that you find objectionable that you want to mention now before we move on?
He said got away with it, and I don't like that term. But I don't necessarily. I'm not going to actually imply that he meant it in a negative way. Just
well, he might have, but they're going to talk some more, and I think he might change his mind a little. We'll see.
he shot them, and then
So some people think he's a hero, basically.
But some people was mad because I think he crossed state lines to do that.
Yeah, he did.
He came. He went from a whole nother state.
That is weird. Okay,
He's very controversial.
Yeah.
Say that.
Okay, so he crossed state lines. They know that, right?
It's funny because they repeated that ad nauseum in the media, so I'm not surprised that they know that. It's funny that it's in their head, and it's probably going to be a problem for the rest of the video because it's been implanted in their head that there's something magical about crossing state lines.
Yeah, there's a border guard. And you got to have the little the thing that lifts up, and you can drive underneath it.
Not to mention that, but there's a whole nother question of the absurdity of complaining about Kyle crossing state lines when what I think they like most of the protesters were imported in.
Yeah, as far as California, and Kyle was there every 5, 6 days a week for work and visiting friends and family.
Yeah, people, if they don't live near the border, they don't really quite fathom it. But if you do live near the border, this is like, so what, you know?
Yeah, it's just like driving to another section of the city, that's all.
Yeah.
Even though it's state lines, I mean, he only lived a mile away from the state line.
Okay,
Yeah, once again, I should be in jail for life because I did nothing but cross state lines when I was college. Every day I went to work across state lines.
He's famous because he shot people. Wow. Where Atlanta Black star Kyle Rittenhouse has colleges asking him to speak, to lecture. It continues to draw heavy opposition from campus communities. The organization behind Rittenhouse and his speaking tour, none other than Turning Point USA. Who else? Turning Point USA calls it the Rittenhouse Recap. And the tour is set to take place at the University of Memphis. And
so a lot of Republicans are supporting this guy.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think it's like the guns. I don't know.
Because he was trying to stop the rioting. Remember?
What was the riot? Which riot was that?
The BLM when they was burning out.
Yeah, was it around that time?
It was around that time.
This guy is
because it was burning
for sure.
I remember they was burning in the cities.
I didn't know he was that old. So he did that in a Black Lives Matter protest.
Yes, they was burning in the cities, and I think
you're 100% sure.
If I'm corrected, but I remember that's when he was like he didn't want nobody to burn the businesses. That's what I remember.
You know, that might be true, honestly.
Because that's why
my honest opinion, though, like I don't know if that's a good look for Turning Point USA. Because like, why? What is the recap? Like, why are they featuring a guy that shot people? But like, what was his like? What's his story? Like, what's the good out of this? You know?
That's actually
a good point. But go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's actually a great question, but I mean, it's a great question because facially, that's what I said. Like, if Kyle's only famous for defending himself and being acquitted, that's not a good reason to have him on, but that's not why he's famous. I talked about that at the beginning of the stream, and I said it would play into this interview exactly. It's not why he's famous. Not why he's famous at all. He's famous because of how he was persecuted.
Alice?
Oh, yeah. And also, Rashad Rich, he was saying something about like he shot somebody. That wasn't it. He needs to tell his story, his side of the story, and also it was self-defense. He's a kid that defended himself and lived to tell it.
Yeah, I mean, I get I get the whole point about, well, he's only famous because he shot people. Generally, that's actually kind of true. I mean, whether we like it or not, if he had missed, you know, and still somehow managed to survive.
Oh yeah, if you correct,
he wouldn't be making the college tour. So I mean, I get that, but and this is one of the problems I have with the left when they take a very complex situation and they try to whittle it down to like such simplistic notions. You know, like no, it wasn't just because he killed a couple of people. There's a lot more to it. We're talking about a kid who could have been easily killed, right?
Correct.
And he went through a lot. I mean, basically, this is a persecution, a mob witch hunt going after him, trying to kill him for all practical purposes. And there's a lot to that story. I mean, there's a lot to say about that. And they want to just basically dismiss it all by just saying, well, he's only famous because he killed people.
Correct.
Yeah, it's such a superficial understanding of the situation that, I mean, I don't want to say it borderlines. It is ignorance, but these people, I mean, they have their excuse for ignorance. Like, how could everybody know exactly, like, all the facts of this? But I know as they go on, they actually start looking things up, and they're like, what? What, really?
Hey, Liquidator, if you got some links you want to post in there, I can play them maybe depending on how much time we have, okay?
There's
so
also
go ahead and post them into the chat window.
Yeah, there's also interviews from at least students in this video, so you'll see those soon.
Okay, let's move on.
I don't know. All right, let's continue, man.
Turning Point USA calls it the Rittenhouse Recap. And the tour is set to take place at the University of Memphis and Western Kentucky University this month.
You know what you're doing. You, out of everybody that you could have brought here, you picked Kyle Rittenhouse, someone who's a murderer, who has this, he's the face of violence in our country.
A few moments later.
Can we pause that?
Oh, who's the face of violence? I mean, again, this goes back to that. Oh, they're bringing those violent people. We're so scared. They might just go berserk and hunt us down and kill us. But then when they show up, they get in their face. It's like, wait a minute. How scared are you really of these right-wing people coming to your campus?
True. I didn't even actually think about it like that. Like, are these people actually scary? Well, if they weren't, you wouldn't just be sitting outside of the auditorium chanting, right? You'd be trying to fight them for your life.
And I actually have a video where he looks like he's about 20, and he's walking through a park, and a bunch of they're women. They're all women. They gather around the guy as he's walking, and they're just tearing into him, talking about, how dare you scare us? How dare you scare people? And I'm thinking, wait, it's like, how terrified are you really of this guy? And this guy, by the way, played it very cool. He was just like, he was drinking some water. He's not even paying attention to them, and they are just going berserk. How scared are you really of these people coming to your campus and speaking? Oh my God, sir, he's going to come and speak. All right, let's move on.
What are they saying?
It's sad that
Kyle is a killer.
He's the face of violence, but Memphis is the #1 murder capital right now. That's what makes it.
There's always selective outrage.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is definitely. Yeah, this one I just don't know what side to be on this one. I don't know any information.
Either side on this one.
I'm not,
but it is confusing as to why. Like, I see why where confusion comes from is why is he speaking? Yeah, I don't. But I wouldn't go protest against it. But
we might need to watch a documentary.
I don't see the purpose of him coming to the school and speak. Like, what the hell do you?
Let's look it up. Why do people like Kyle Rittenhouse?
You need an interview or something. I'm confused too. But he was just trying to protect American businesses. That's probably how people looked at it.
But he crossed the state lines to do that, though. But
they're right again. God, it's so crazy how people get that right every time. Kyle crossed state lines. It might be the only thing they get right, but it is true. He crossed state lines at some point or another.
Right, but again,
he probably also crossed a road, an intersection. He probably crossed a lot of things. He probably crossed his T's when he was riding.
Well, but keep in mind, he didn't cross state lines to go to the protest. And that's the part where they're missing. They really do think that he heard about this protest and he thought, man, I got to go to that. And he crossed the state line to go to it. Didn't happen. So let's be clear. He was already in Kenosha when the riots broke out. Yes, on day one, there were some protests that night. The riots broke out on night 2, and Kyle was already there. And everybody listening, he did not go that night. It wasn't until the next day when he was invited to go and protect businesses from another night of rioting is when he actually showed up at the protest, and he traveled like 2 miles.
Yeah, but when he left, what did he do? He crossed state lines.
Well, I mean, yeah, I get that. But when you say he crossed state lines to go to the protest, that's a problem because it's not true.
You're right. That's not true at all.
Yeah. Allison, anything?
Well, he was there around 10 with his sister and Dominique cleaning graffiti for a couple of hours. And then they were walking around, yeah.
I love it that you pronounce it as Dominique, because that makes me feel better, because I was calling him Dominique all the time and people were criticizing. It's Dominic.
Dominic.
Dominique is the female pronunciation. So,
Oh, okay.
hey, Dominic, and I think he's probably listening tonight. It wasn't just me.
And some people call him Dom.
Yeah, well, I'm safer with that one, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's they're trying, okay, but they really don't know much. But okay, let's move on.
Yeah, they're
But I mean,
figuring it
and
out.
people end up-
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I said they're figuring it out as they go.
Yeah.
Hit him though.
well,
So it
that
was like-
does change a lot of things, though.
They
Yeah,
attacked
see.
him first, and then he was, and out of self-defense, he protected
Okay,
himself.
it says why it divides the U.S., but I don't. Okay, it doesn't really. Yeah, I have to click. We'll have to do a little bit of research out there.
Yeah, I haven't really. That was before we were really,
Y'all tell us in the comments.
Well, now wait a minute. They're going to do some research. Oh my God!
Oh man, that's not allowed. Independent research shouldn't do that. Just trust the experts.
But I will give it to them though. They're going to at least click on some links and read, right? Okay, let's go ahead. I got no reaction at all from that.
Y'all know y'all gonna cook us.
They not.
Murderer who has this, he's the face of violence in our country.
A few moments later.
Yeah.
Look at shit. Look, what is that? That's an ant. See me? Oh my god. You're good. I'm standing over you. It's okay. Hey, look, I'm spitting on you. Oh my god, that girl just spit on me.
Oh, that's Colin.
Keep going, Tanner. Don't
Must
stop.
be.
Dang, they hit him that bad.
Back the fuck up.
This is very.
Who is that in the car?
That's his car.
We're not
Kyle,
even
look at these people. What an interesting outfit.
Oh my god, they can see me. Tanner, can they see me?
No, just stay down there.
Good, stay down.
Yeah, why this is a bit worse. This is absolutely. This is not the way you go about things, bro.
All right. They're not comfortable with what they're seeing.
Correct.
Yeah, nor should they be. Like, as far as they know, like with the way the story went, it's like some shit happened. Like it was during a protest, they were burning things down. He defended himself, like, whatever. And then they're just like, what is this reaction? Like they immediately, even if they're just like Kyle shouldn't be there speaking, even if they're like Kyle should not have been at the protest, they're still just like, this is a blatant overreaction. Like, why? That's the question you need to ask yourself. Why are these kids acting this way?
Exactly. And then she was saying that he's the face of violence. Kyle wasn't violent. He was just he was running away, trying to go to the police line. Everybody else was violent towards him. It's crazy.
Yeah, you're gonna have a hard time convincing those people of that, right?
Yeah, because they don't know the story. They didn't
I
see any of
know.
the videos. Yeah. They didn't do research.
Some of it is less that they don't know, and it's that they don't care.
Yeah, I don't think they care. That's it. They hear what everybody else thinks and just go with that, with the mob, and that's it.
They also prefer narratives that fit their worldview. So like I said, like people will do lots of mental gymnastics to make sure that however they've been told to view the world remains true, because it's earth shattering to people when they realize that they've been fed a bunch of falsehoods and they've been spouting it out. It takes a lot to get somebody to actually go to the other side.
Yes.
Even I'm guilty. We're all guilty of that.
And even Kimberly mentioned that she's more scared of the crazy mob than Kyle.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, did they really think that the people who are going to attend this are going to be crazed with their AR-15s and then just roam around the campus shooting people? But that's kind of what they were trying to portray, right? We can't have these people coming in with these violent messages and their guns and stuff, when in reality, the people that were going to go see Kyle speak, I mean, specifically because they wanted to hear him speak, are probably about the most law-abiding citizens you're going to find.
Mhm.
Okay, here we go.
I don't really see the problem here. I mean, they're allowed to protest.
No, yeah, no, definitely. I don't think. Hey, that's a right for your freedom of speech or whatever you believe. You know, as long as you're not destructing property.
You have a right
like
to protest. I don't understand why the school thought it was a good idea to let him even come speak there. I understand, like
he's in Tennessee.
I mean, yeah, I get it, but like, what
is his purpose?
What does the purpose of
know.
letting him speak there?
I mean, yeah, and I mean,
we probably got to have an interview.
I'm not sure about that.
We probably got.
But
an interview,
I don't see why the like.
I don't know, man.
It says he shot 3 people and they happen to be pedophiles and wife beaters. 2 pedos and a wife beater.
Well, I'm okay with 2 pedos getting knocked off. So.
Well, I know it was one pedo and a wife beater, but I don't think Gage
They
Grosskreutz
don't have that right.
is either of those.
There's an interesting part. There's 2 things to this. Number one, look at all this violence going on. I mean, hostility. Let's call it that, rather.
Yep.
So why did they bring him on? So they're sort of implying that the university should never invite anybody that is so controversial that they're going to incite this kind of reaction.
Yeah, it's actually it's actually the reason they're asking the question is also the answer to the question. Right? The fact that he is so controversial is the reason to listen to him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is supposed to be a institute of higher education, right? And so therefore listening to contrary arguments, no matter how repulsive, is part of the deal.
Yeah, I'm not going to show up to a lecture, like a special lecture, like while I was in college, for something that I already learned in my college lectures. Right? Yeah, it's got to be something new and controversial.
And while I don't believe that Kyle is the best spokesman for it, and I've gone on record many times saying when it comes to the Second Amendment, I really don't want him taking the forefront of that. Because
he's absolutely not.
Yeah, no, I mean, I am, lifetime NRA member. I know I have owned guns since I was 9 years old, and I don't need Kyle leading the charge on that, primarily because of this, right? However, at least Kyle does have an interesting perspective on the Second Amendment, and he has an interesting perspective on the First Amendment. And therefore, inviting him to a college campus is not that far out of bounds.
Yeah, I should probably listen to one of what he talks about in one of these speeches, because if he's getting up there and he's just saying this is what happened to me, it was traumatizing, it was terrible, but it fell within the bounds of this, and then these people wanted to do X, Y, and Z to me, and those people are terrible. Like, if he was just going down that line of reasoning, sticking to his, personal experience and just getting the word out there, I think it would be completely fine, actually. With him being part of TPUSA, I'm actually a little bit skeptical if he keeps his speeches to just that. But I need to watch. I would have to watch one. I actually have not seen this.
I'll send it to you. I have the WKU Western Kentucky University one, the one he was spoke there for 30 minutes.
Please do. I'm actually very curious as to, because I haven't actually seen what he talks about, which is less important to me than the reactions of these people, to be real honest. But I do want to see it.
Yeah, he did pretty well, and they didn't interrupt, so that was good. Not like here, they couldn't even, he couldn't get a word in edgewise, and he had to stop it and went into Q&A after a minute or two, where the other one he talked all the way through, and he did Q&A after he did like a 10-minute spiel in regards to what happened. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Okay, Liquidator, I did not see the links. I don't know why it scrubbed them. If you have direct message to me, push it into the direct message on Twitter, and I will go and look for them. And we have here, I'm proud of Kyle for using his platform for gun rights. But I'm disappointed in his cocky attitude since his book. He needs to pull his head out of his butt. Okay. I mean, that's a pretty common sentiment. And by the way, I did see of all the little small clips I've seen, I remember seeing him being asked about Charlie Kirk, and he handled it pretty poorly. They were talking
Yes,
about
I
Charlie
think
Kirk being
he was
racist.
caught and surprised. What he should have said was, I'm not Charlie Kirk. You have something,
Yeah.
you could go ahead and talk to him about it because he
Yeah,
didn't
I
know
mean, he's
anything
from around
about it.
here, so if you want to go and ask him, but I'm not here to defend Charlie Kirk. I don't know, it's like that's off topic, but
Hmm.
you know, yeah, he kind of walked into that one, but that comes from experience.
Yeah. Yes, he did.
Okay, can we move on, or do you want to anything else to say?
Oh no.
What's the last one?
Yeah, he a wife beater. He's beating his wife. Also, the people he shot were white.
Oh, for real?
Yes.
All three of them?
Yes.
Yeah. I think I knew that.
And it says they were at a Jacob Blake protest. He was a guy that.
Okay, here we go. They didn't know, at least some of them didn't know, that the guys that he shot were white. Wow.
Well, because if they're trying to put two and two together, it doesn't make any sense. Their starting point is BLM is protesting Kyle Rittenhouse being there because he shot people. So obviously they're there because he shot black people, right?
Right.
So when they hear that, they're just like, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all when they were all white people.
And this is what happens when you assume, right? And a lot of Kyle's grief is based on people who have been making bad assumptions. For example, he's from Illinois. The protesters in Wisconsin. He must have went from Illinois to Wisconsin to go to the protests. And he had a gun. So therefore, he must have carried the gun across state lines. He's only 17. I bet his mother drove him. This is what happens when you assume. Yeah. But at least they corrected themselves.
I don't know why they assume that because he was set. Oh, they've actually changed driving laws in a lot of states now, so maybe it is a good assumption.
I think it's just simply because we think of 17-year-olds, even though they can legally get a license. Keep in mind, he went across state lines, so in their mind, oh, that's a long distance. That's a long travel. So he wouldn't have done that by himself. He's only 17. His mom must have drove him.
It's like they all live on the coast or like in the very center of a state, and they've never been in an area where you can cross state. Like look at how many cities on the map are between borders. There's so many. It's insane. Both the major cities in my state, Missouri, are right on the border.
Right.
There's an East St. Louis and it's part of the Illinois.
I got lost in East St. Louis once. Man, don't ever do that.
Don't do that. Oh my God, dude. I have a story. We'll save that for after the stream because it has nothing to do with this, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh yeah.
That was killed by police brutality. And Kyle Rittenhouse had all the charges dropped against him.
For self-defense.
I was reading it. It says the first dude he shot charged at him and tried to grab his gun.
He has to die. So 2 pedos, 1 wife beater.
But I just don't see, especially the fact that he killed white people. Why would Black Lives Matter get her chanting against that? I guess because it was at their protest. Yeah.
The second dude, at their school probably.
The second dude, it says he thought Kyle Rittenhouse was an active shooter, tried to hit him with a skateboard, hit him twice. The first blow didn't bring him down.
He was probably the wife beater.
And Rittenhouse, no.
He was a pedo.
Brother, let me damn read it, damn it. All right. Rittenhouse shot him 1 time and killed him. The first dude got shot at 4 times. It doesn't say if he was it says both 2 dudes had bipolar disorder. It says the second dude went to jail, went to prison.
The guy on the left. You can see that his entire worldview of this is just crumbling. He's like,
I don't think it's crumbling. I think it's developing, and he's giving insights. Like, bet you the dude with the skateboard, that was the wife beater. That's why I started cracking up. I had to mute my mic for a second because I could not stop laughing. I was like, ding, 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 we have a winner.
Oh, man. And by the way, for those of you who are stumbling on this for the first time, doesn't know my channel, or doesn't know very much about the Kyle Rittenhouse deal, the first person he shot who ambushed him from behind is a really bad dude. Bad dude. Yeah. It was in for 14 years for, let's say it, raping a bunch of young kids.
Yep.
And while he was in prison, he was fighting with other prisoners and stuff. Well, actually, with staff. And then he was homeless. He was a meth addict. And he tried to commit suicide a couple times and was released from a mental hospital on the day that he attacked Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
Okay? Those are
Basically,
the facts.
Jojo Rittenbaum committed suicide by making the stupid move of trying to fight somebody that has an AR-15.
Yeah, he tried to commit suicide 3 other times and it failed.
Yeah, he
And
successfully did it. It's like suicide by
fourth
cop, but
time.
this time
Yep.
it's suicide by just guy that obviously has a gun that's much smaller than him. What did he expect was going to happen?
He was yelling, jack their guns and kill them, and then also the cops, and he didn't care if he went back to jail. That's what he was yelling that night.
No. Yeah, that dude was nuts. Completely nuts. He set off the whole thing. In fact, if you want to blame anybody for the death of Anthony Hubert and Gage Groichquitz having his bicep blown off, it's Joseph Rosenbaum's fault, not Kyle's.
Okay, I guess I screwed this up a bit. I'm going to have to stop sharing and then go back to it because I did receive the links, but we'll have to play them later. Okay, so okay, yeah, here we go. All right.
And twice, first for violating probation, and after strangling his brother and kicking his sister.
Well, so that's all I need to hear.
He must be the beater. The first dude must be one of the pedophiles.
That's all I need to hear.
Hold on. So, okay.
And the second one, the third one was shot.
They deserve to go. You a pedo? 2 pedos? They deserve to go, buddy.
Well,
okay, let's be clear. Anthony Huber was not a pedo. Not a nice guy. And there's some evidence that he was trying to turn his life around. So I'm not going to dogpile him. But he did have a pretty bad past. Of course, we already know about JoJo. But Anthony Huber was violent and a former heroin addict. His girlfriend claimed that he was clean. But at the same time, he has had a pretty violent past, including holding up a knife or a butcher knife to his brother. He kicked his sister in the stomach or something, got arrested for that. He was listed as a multiple offender domestic violence. So he had a mean streak.
Well, and part of what you're getting at is why you're never, ever going to see me be like, well, it was Kyle did it. Everything Kyle did was great because Rosenbaum was a pedo and Hubert was a wife beater, things like that. I don't really think those things are relevant. It's not like Kyle could have known that at the time. I don't think they should be relevant. All you can do is look at it and just be like, well, maybe the motives of these people that were attacking him weren't so pure. With Rosenbaum, for sure. With Hubert, maybe he really thought he was being a hero, stopping an active shooter situation.
That would be like a vigilante.
But he's not. Exactly. It's what they're accusing Kyle of. Yes. Kyle shot a bunch of people trying to be vigilantes, and they called him a vigilante.
But Hubert's trying to be a vigilante.
Yeah, the only point I'm trying to make is Anthony Hubert, people are complicated. There might have been a lot of redeeming qualities about him. I'm not going to sit there and pretend like I know anything about him just based on the situations that are documented in the public where he got in trouble with the law.
But his violent past and his propensity to do violence against anybody else.
Oh yeah, if there was a trial that could be used against him, what I'm saying is I don't really factor that into why Kyle shot him. He could have been a person that never had any history and just decided that he was going to be a vigilante that day and try to truck somebody with a skateboard. And it wouldn't have made one bit of difference whether or not Kyle acted in self-defense.
I agree with
that. Not one bit
at all. People don't know that if Kyle was never attacked, he wouldn't have been dead.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. That's the point we need to get to people. I don't think
exactly.
I don't think necessarily pointing out that he was a bad person justifies it. With Rosenbaum, it explains a lot, but with Hubert, it doesn't. I don't think it really explains anything.
It's
Yeah, we
their
don't really
actions
know
that
his
what they
motives.
did. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, my personal, if I had to put my money on it, Anthony Huber saw a political opponent on the run, and the whole mob thing took in. I mean, he just
Yep.
saw attack, just like a cheetah.
Yeah,
When it
it's
sees something running from it, it will chase it.
yep,
And I have a feeling
It's,
that Huber was the same way.
it's like a
But I have
lynch
no
well,
way of
mob.
knowing.
I
and
don't know. I
humans
feel
worse
like
than
it was like
cheetahs
a lynch
suffer
mob.
from the madness of crowds.
Yes.
Right, exactly. By the way, you have a comment here. Kyle might be better prepared for tough questions if he did interviews with objective interviewers rather than hosts that are just fawning over him. I absolutely agree with that. That's been a problem for him.
I'm just curious, like who, and this is for Peter Koch, or I'm sorry if it's Koch or Koche. I suck at reading names, but I'm curious who you would like to see interview Kyle Rittenhouse. I would actually love to see a list of names of who you think would be good interviewers for that.
Oh, I can't think of anybody.
Well, I can think of you, but I'm saying I'm sorry. I'm actually thinking more of like national media, even if it's independent. Like,
Oh, I'm not big enough. Oh, okay. I
yeah,
get it.
we're talking about something that the Young Turks would have to comment on the interview.
Okay, okay. I know when I'm licked. Let's go on. Let's move on here.
I ain't gonna lie. I remember
Not
when
my-
when they had his case. I remember they said he was just raining fire on the
The first dude got shot 4 times. Second dude got shot once. Tried to hit Kyle with the
They
skateboard.
said-
The third one had a pistol.
Knowing their background and knowing, just knowing their background, actually.
Says he shot.
Kyle's good with me.
Oh wow.
They attacked him.
Pedos.
I won't
Pedos
co-sign
be
on that.
wiped
I think I
off the
see why
face of
people.
the earth.
I think I see why people.
Hey, if it was
like
two pedos,
Kyle Rittenhouse,
yeah, tell me.
people like it because according to the research, the quick research I just did, it says people like him because he represents the Second Amendment and self-defense.
He did kill one person. The other 2 people survived. It says the third dude lost 90% of his bicep after being shot, but he had a gun as well and believed he was an active shooter. I don't know, man. I'm just like kind of lost. Like, I understand like this is a controversial topic.
Yeah, I mean,
he shot 2 riders dead. Two of the people he shot died. But I'm kind of lost. Like, I understand. Like, yes, they were rioting for a cause. I don't think a riot that was gonna give you any positive feedback. You're gonna destroy a bunch of shit and want something to change positively. Not very smart, in my opinion. I understand this is a controversial guy. I don't understand why bringing him to a college was necessary.
Yeah, that's.
Okay, guys, go ahead. I got to actually tend to a message here. What do you think?
Al, you want to go first?
Oh, okay. Well, I think that Turning Point, they wanted him to be there as their guest speaker, and they wanted to hear Kyle. And so, but everybody else didn't want them there. But the thing is, they're voicing their First Amendment right, but they're not letting Kyle voice their First Amendment right. So, and they're trying to drown him out and everything and not let him come. So, what does that say? They're being hypocrites.
I agree with that. I also, I don't think they understand, like I talked about earlier, how Kyle Rittenhouse turned into he is a proxy war in the culture war, right? It's not about him individually and what happened. Like, that's why they call him a white supremacist. They throw him in with like the Proud Boys, even though they didn't talk to him until much after it happened. The reason he is famous is because he's become this proxy war figure in the culture war, which is why he is very useful for TPUSA, because they are on his side of that cultural war. And I do think TPUSA is using him to the extent that they know that he's going to generate clicks, he's going to generate outrage, and he's going to generate attention. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't want to say that just because people recognize that it shouldn't happen. A lot of the times it's necessary to do that to draw attention to an issue. I'm not gonna claim that TPUSA has nefarious purposes for why they're throwing Kyle Rittenhouse out there. But that's the reality of the situation, is that he is a proxy for a culture war. So when these people are showing up, it's not even really about Kyle Rittenhouse. This is my opinion. It's not about Kyle Rittenhouse. It's about basically the kind of like the populist right versus the I would say the neo-Marxist left.
Yeah, I mean, Turning Point USA. I had never even heard of this organization up until a year ago. Right?
I'd heard of them, but I always thought of them as just kind of like just another one of those like random right-wing organizations that, yeah, they do speeches on college campuses, but I mean, Charlie Kirk gives a speech. Who cares? Like, do you know who Charlie Kirk is?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Well, do you know anything? Do you know more about him than you do Kyle Rittenhouse?
No.
I don't know anything about Charlie Kirk other than he has some vaguely right-wing populist views and does speeches. But I know a lot about Kyle Rittenhouse.
Isn't he the one that goes on college campuses and kind of like stirs up a little bit of trouble with his little like one-on-ones, that kind of thing?
Kinda. It's not. I think it's more like he shows up bold and brazen, just like left wingers do.
He pokes the bear.
I think. Yeah. No. Yeah. He pokes the bear, and it's because he's the bear that's been poked. I mean, it's kind of a back and forth. He's trying to be kind of like a Jon Stewart when he gives those speeches, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't follow Charlie Kirk. A lot of people think that we must be MAGA, right? And I'm not.
So many people have told me that too.
I know. They always think I'm MAGA. I'm a registered Democrat. I voted for Biden. I voted for Obama. But
oh my God! Now where can I mute her? Let me see if I can find a little.
Oh yeah, yeah. We can't be friends. We can't be friends anymore. Obviously.
But you know what? I'm after what Biden has done, I am going right down the middle. I'm independent.
Johnny, I swear to God, I've said this on almost all of your streams. But if people want to know where I came from, in 2008, I made a hard shift, and this is 2000. I'm almost 40 now, but in 2008, I was like a 24-year-old kid, and I'm like, this Biden guy is supposed to be the savior. I used to hate Bush. I mean, I still hate Bush. And I found out about Ron Paul, and I was like, no, this guy makes sense. Whenever since I've been a libertarian, so.
I see. Well, let's go ahead and move on because we're going to go right down that rabbit hole. And yeah.
But that's a different. We need to figure out if Kyle was right or wrong. I guess that's kind of like
he was getting self-defense.
Yeah, but I'm not really deciding what I need to decide.
You didn't see the self-defense.
Kyle's good with me.
I didn't think what he did. I saw the video. I remember before I was even leaning right at all. That was before I was political at all. I remember watching the video with Obi at his house, and we were like, yeah, they did attack him. Like, I remember thinking it was self-defense. But even with that being said, I don't see why he speaks at colleges, but I would like to know. But I do think that what he did was self-defense.
Let's leave it at that. What I was gonna say, so if it was self-defense, I mean, it's all clear from there.
Some people say it wasn't.
And then it would have been different. That's what I was thinking, that he accidentally just opened fire at maybe someone he knew was a pedo or a pedo, and he hit the pedo.
It wasn't nothing to do with the pedo.
And it would have been like, okay, then it would have been like, okay, he definitely deserves some time for that. But if they attacked him,
I remember the problem everybody was having, that he took an AR across state lines to show up to that. I know, I'm just saying.
What makes him even more good?
That does look bad.
That's why people was high.
Extra green. So they attacked him. He fired. He uses Second Amendment. Then there were pedos and a wife beater. That makes it extra good.
The one on the left started out as the biggest detractor of Kyle, and now he's like, yeah, go. I'm checking my Twitter direct messages here. So anything you guys want to add to that?
Oh, no.
Oh, to this in
Have anything,
particular,
Sean?
no. There's a lot. There's a lot more that's going to go on later that I'll have to have something to say about.
Extra green. Kyle's green to me. Damn. And the fact that black people are protesting to people that got shot that weren't even black. That's what's actually crazy to me, bro. I understand that this is at their school, but like,
I don't understand the whole Black Lives Matter
just
thing.
too much.
Like,
It's
no,
too woke.
no black person was killed.
Why go protest?
And they would
Just
never
don't go
do
to
this.
the event.
They
Just
would
don't
never
go
do
to the
this. Like
event.
when we have, we're not going to talk about how there's a lot of black on black crime, and this never
Memphis.
happens.
This is Memphis.
This
is
is
fucking
the
like capital.
Well,
No, I
murder
know,
right
but
now.
you never see this. It could be a black dude who go out there and kill 3-4 black people, and they wouldn't do this.
Yeah, I'm just kind of lost on like.
That is true. That is true.
I don't really understand the purpose of bringing him to the campus, and like I can kind of understand why they would be mad, but the whole like them Black Lives Matter, I'm doing all this extra shit. I'm kind of lost.
No, I can understand why people be mad, upset, like kind of slightly like confused at why he's talking at the campus, but mad I don't understand from what I've seen.
Yeah, I agree.
Mad no, but I could be confused though.
So dude on the left is completely right, and the best thing he said is like, if you don't like, just don't show up. Like it's that easy. It's almost like he understands free speech. If you don't want to listen to the speaker, don't show up. Don't listen to him. There wasn't any real reason to protest him other than the lies that the people protesting them have been fed. There was none. Just don't show up. If you don't like Kyle, don't show up. That's it.
Well, if you interviewed the people that are protesting, within 5 minutes you understand exactly why they're there, because they don't understand anything.
Oh yeah, they're lying. Or I mean, they don't. Yeah, nothing they say is true. I said lying, but
And this is
nothing they say is true.
Higher education, higher learning, and they don't know anything, and they don't seem to care about knowing anything.
Well, I mean, they've been, and this is, you have to be taught to, you have to be fed information like that in order to believe something, or believe things as ridiculous as these people do about Kyle Rittenhouse. And I guarantee it's their professors feeding it to them, which is why some people say don't send your kid to college. People, they're going to come out dumber than they were before.
Okay, Tammy and the cringe guy, David Ogg, who I cannot stand. Talk about stolen valor. Hey, I will say this. At least Kyle was attacked. At least Kyle was engaged in the conflict. Hogg, you weren't anywhere near the issue. Yet he tries to portray himself as a victim of gun violence. I mean, that dude is an absolute total phony. But okay.
What was his foil? Kyle. It was another Kyle. It's Kyle something. That was also a person that was actually there that day. That came out and said, like, no, like guns aren't the problem. It's we need to have like more defense.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one.
I think I'll have to look it up, but I know that guy's doing really well in his life. Like he's married, he has kids, he's making a lot of money.
And by the way, the whole Harvard thing, David Hogg only got into Harvard because of his protesting, and Harvard has one of the worst undergraduate curricula around. You literally cannot fail out of Harvard.
Yep, Harvard became a credential stamping business.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a. I'd almost go as far to say it's not a real college.
Well, its graduate school is very good.
I'm sure.
Yeah, but its undergraduate curriculum is crap, and it's called the Gentleman's C. You cannot fail. You're going to get a C at the minimum. But okay. Let's go ahead and move on here. By the way, Kayla, if you're listening, come on in, man. We're wanting you here. I don't see you around. What's happening? The direct link to get in here is in your direct message on Twitter. Go there and click on the link. Come on, we want to hear from you. Here we go.
To me, if you're upset with Kyle did, then you're a complete idiot. But I'm upset that he went across the state lines just to stand somewhere that a protest was at, like he was a cop. Like, okay, that was a
That's
wrong.
why everybody's
That's the
saying
problem. That's why he shouldn't be speaking. That's
why
the
everybody
reason.
having a problem.
But whatever happened after the attack, he was completely right.
Yeah, if they didn't touch him, everything would have been good.
Oh no, if they didn't touch him,
everything would have been.
If they never attacked him and he opened fire, it'd been a totally different situation.
Yeah,
and it looked back because he had an AR.
Yeah, it did look bad. I can't lie, it does look bad.
But if they didn't touch that man, you know.
But if you're that brain dead to just look at that and then say he's just to do all this outrage over this little stuff that he did, I just don't think that's you getting the full context of what happened.
But you know what makes it even more crazier? The University of Memphis is right close to everything that's been getting people getting shot by, all that stuff. Like it's right there in the heart of everything that's going on in action.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's like
crazy.
it makes me more like I be
Yeah.
confused, bro.
Yeah. Hey man.
Okay, a few things here. They don't really quite understand the whole context of everything, right? The fact is, they kind of got this feeling that Kyle kind of pushed the police aside. Let me handle this. That didn't happen. The police were there to protect, guess what? Government buildings. And the sheriff even said so. We're here to protect the courthouse and government buildings. Businesses, screw you. Because police don't protect private property. I mean, if you disagree, when you're on vacation, you call the police and ask them to come and guard your property. They're going to laugh at you, right? They're going to tell you what? Get private security. Gee, what was Kyle doing that night? Private security. Now, he wasn't licensed. Yeah, maybe he shouldn't have been doing private security, but whatever the case, the police were not protecting those businesses. So, and by the way, I've said this about the Kendrys. Now, the Kendrys are the people who owned the 3 car lots. Well, it was a garage and 2 car lots, right? And on the second night where the riots kind of started, they lost $2 million in damages. And everybody says, oh, well, it's all insured. No, it wasn't. Those cars that were on their property were not theirs. That was consignment. So I can almost guarantee you that the next morning after the riots and all those cars got burned, the insurance company said, screw you, we're not covering it. Now they got a problem because they have more property and they have another night of rioting coming their way. So what are they going to do? They're going to go and turn to private security to help them. And that's when they reached out to, Smith. Forget his first name.
Nicholas.
Smith. Thank you. They turned to him, who used to work for them, and said, can you help us out? Nick turned to Dominic Black, who then turned to Kyle. And that's why they were there. They were there to protect the property from another night of burning. And I will say this, they were successful. The third night had far, far fewer burnings and arsonists and looting and all that kind of thing because the private guard showed up and protected private property. The police had nothing to do with it. Nothing. And so they're kind of working on the assumption that, well, Kyle kind of supplanted the police from doing their job. No. That did not happen. What do you guys think?
I mean, I just want to. I can tell you right now, the Supreme Court has already ruled that the police have no obligation to protect you or your property.
Exactly.
That is actually a Supreme Court ruling. They have no obligation to do any of that. Like, if you call the cops and they don't come help you, you can't sue them, right? Like, just look at the Navalny shootings. Like, yeah, some people are getting fired, but there was no obligation for those cops to do anything.
Absolutely. And I covered the Kendrys, and I've defended them. The Kendrys took the stand in the Kyle Rittenhouse case and lied. They absolutely lied. They had to. Because if they went up there and said, oh, yeah, we hired these people to come on, and one of them was a 17-year-old, their insurance company could have came back and said, hey, we're not covering nothing. Okay? They felt they had to distance themselves from that whole armed security deal. And so they went up there and they said, well, Kyle, who's he? That kind of thing. We know that Kyle and Dominic and Nick Smith and Grambo, all of them met with the Kendrys prior to the security deal. They had an agreement, and guess what, everybody? Nick Smith had a key to get inside the buildings. Gee, where did he get that
For
from?
those dudes' testimonies was so in favor of Kyle to the jury because it was so incredulous that I love it. I think they gave a great testimony, and I think they helped Kyle a
I
lot.
mean, it was almost like they were trying to tell the jury, like, okay, look, we're going to say this, but please don't believe us.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like they're just like, don't put that guy in jail, but we're just not going to put ourselves in. We're not going to put ourselves in a situation where we have any liability.
Now, keep in
That
mind,
that's the subtext of their testimony.
and keep in mind, these are two younger guys. They're probably in their 20s, maybe 30s, I'm guessing.
The
The
Kendrys.
owner of the business was their father.
Their
Do
father,
you
yes.
really think
They
that
look
they're
like
going to
they're
go
in
to
their
their
30s.
dad? I'm sorry?
They look like they're in their 30s.
Yeah. Do you think
Well,
that they're
and
going to go to their dad, who the patriarch of the family and the owner of the business, and say, "Hey, Dad, we really have to be honest. We have to get up on that stand and tell the truth." Their dad is going to absolutely say, "Are you kidding
well,
me?"
and they were actually they're all first generation immigrants
Mhm.
from India, right?
Right.
So yeah, that whole patriarch thing, like that dedication, that loyalty to the patriarch and their culture is much higher than what we would think.
And
So
I
it
know that
it's it
patriarch
makes
very well. I
yeah,
get
no,
it.
I look, I work in a IT adjacent. I talk to people from India every day.
Yeah, and I've taught them. I've had so many Indian students in my classes. I know their culture very well. And I knew that those Kendrys were not going to get up on the stand and just spill the beans.
Yeah, they're not
They,
going to sell
they
their family
couldn't.
out.
They couldn't. And so I defend them. I mean, I know everybody says, "Oh, you took an oath." Yeah, I don't care. When
No,
it comes to money,
I think they did perfect. Actually, they gave themselves plausible deniability while also at the same time making themselves completely incredulous to testify against Kyle.
however, Peter Cushy does raise a good point. He says, "Not sure I would have stayed to protect the property since the owners left the scene." And that's a good question. What did the Kendrys actually do? Did they stick around and protect their own property? I don't believe so.
No, they left.
However, let's be clear: the Kendrys lied on the stand. They absolutely asked the Nick Smith and Dominic to help them, and by that, also Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle was not there to defend property that he had never been asked to defend. He absolutely was. There's no doubt about it in my mind.
And also, if the cops, the authorities would let Kyle go back to his group, then he would have probably got a buddy system to go back over to the other car source where Rosenbaum was breaking into the car, because Rosenbaum was actually shot over at the other car source where the other volunteers that came abandoned.
Well,
And
and
by the
Kyle
way,
he was so eager to just leave Car Source and go help like people that might have gotten hurt for some
Well,
reason.
there was two car source, and Bulch was the one that said, "Okay, let's make our rounds. Let's see if anybody needs anything to give aid to." And so then that's why Kyle and him was making their rounds to see if anybody needed medical.
and I have a challenge, a video on the challenge called the Kyle Rittenhouse Challenge. If you really think that Kyle was there to cause trouble, take the challenge. Nobody has ever passed it because there's just too much on video where Kyle could have caused trouble but avoided it. Now, I understand that David Hancock is making a claim that there was, and I know how much time, it's 18 minutes, that Kyle was not on video, that during that 18 minutes he was provoking people. um, okay. I haven't seen it. It doesn't make much sense to me because Ryan Balch was with him, and Ryan took the stand and never mentioned it. However, it's possible. But until I see real hard evidence of it, I'm gonna stick to my guns. Okay, shall we move on?
Yes.
I'm confused by a lot of stuff, y'all, man.
Controversial right-wing speaker Kyle Rittenhouse taking the stage at the University of Memphis. But who is allowed inside that event? Well, that's turning into an even bigger ordeal. Thank you for joining us. I'm Joy Redmond.
And I'm Joe Birch. Action News 5's Kelly Cook has been looking to get answers today after students learned their tickets were no longer valid. Kelly?
Well, University of Memphis officials told me if you do not have a ticket, you cannot get inside of the event. That includes the media as well. But after a last-minute email that came out, a lot of folks who thought they had a ticket found out their tickets have been revoked.
Okay, Kelly.
That enabled me to check the status of my tickets, and turns to find out that they've been canceled.
University of Memphis sophomore Richard Massey got quite the surprise Wednesday morning regarding his tickets to see Kyle Rittenhouse. U of M chapter of Turning Point USA, a nonprofit that advocates conservative views on college campuses, invited Rittenhouse to Memphis to speak. He received this message from Turning Point saying his tickets were no longer valid and had to sign up again. By the time he tried to request tickets again, it was already sold out, changing plans for many students who wanted to ensure Rittenhouse spoke to an empty house.
Students on this campus had, of course, demonstrated their concerns through purchasing tickets en masse to not show up to this event. It's a peaceful protest.
Rittenhouse made international headlines in 2020 after he crossed state lines to Wisconsin and shot and killed 2 people and injured a third at a Black Lives Matter protest. He was found not guilty, claiming self-defense.
They put me on trial for defending myself.
By the way, he looks so much older and heavier at that time. I think he slimmed down since, but he does not look good there. But this was a dirty trick. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, Johnny, did you like how the news made point out that he crossed state lines? It's like, it's the most insane thing that everybody says about Kyle Rittenhouse, and this news story decided it must be repeated. He crossed state lines.
Yeah. Oh God. The whole ticket.
I have a
thing.
question.
Go ahead.
I sent you a link over on Twitter, the WKU, where Kyle actually did his full speech. I don't know if we have time to put that on, because in here they're just having the opinions of seeing their opinions of these 4 men, but the other one is the actual speech that Kyle is speaking, because this one here, I believe they cut it off.
Well, I tell you what, at some point, if you think that we've kind of covered these 4 dudes enough, I can shift over. I did receive your link.
Okay, that'd be good. If we could do that, we could always switch back over to here too.
Yeah. What do you think there, Sean?
All right, so this is my streaming experience, right? So we've done a 30-minute video. We're only halfway through, and we've been going through it for an hour. So if you want to keep going through this, I don't think we could do that this stream, but I think it would be a very good thing to do on another stream. And sorry if I deflated what you wanted to do right now.
Oh no, Allie, no worries. That was
just
that's my just an idea.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, my idea is I would love to actually go through a full Kyle Rittenhouse speech because I haven't heard one. And I would watch it beforehand, but I'd love to go through it afterwards on stream. That'd be a great topic for another stream, I believe.
We could do like tomorrow night or Tuesday night or something. I'm good with it.
I mean, yeah, I can do I can do either of those things. So.
Okay, let's move on to this.
Okay.
And sometimes I think, like, what would have happened if they would have killed me? Would they have prosecuted the people who killed me if I would have died? And I don't think they would have.
That was Rittenhouse speaking at Eastern Tennessee State University last month. But Turning Point USA says the University of Memphis has, quote, taken unprecedented actions to undermine our event, seizing control of seating arrangements and the ticketing system. Massey says protests, however, will continue outside the scheduled event.
We're even more moved to hold our university accountable to ensure that as we have done as our
because the people bought the tickets to
actually watch it. Yeah, they bought the tickets. No,
so the people realized that.
No, they bought the tickets to boycott it.
Yeah,
they bought the tickets to not show up. To make tickets not available to people who actually wanted to watch.
Yeah, that's why they I guess did that. But how did they know who?
But my question is,
that's a great question. No, that's a great question.
My question is, why would you do that to fund something that you disagree? So you
just
put bread in his pocket, though.
They don't want no one to be in there, I guess, when he's doing the speech.
Forget all that emotional thinking. You just still put bread in the man's pocket if you hate that man that much.
I mean, he's probably already paid from the.
Okay, and this is where my criticism of TPUSA comes in. Why in the hell do you not charge for the tickets? This is stupid. I mean, they absolutely open themselves up for this. Gee, let's have an event where people can order tickets, reserve seats, and not charge for them. I wonder if the protest movement will gobble up all the seats. If you charge $5 a head, they won't do that because that money goes to Kyle. But if you give it away for free, oh my God. Now, keep in mind, maybe there was a campus rule where they could not charge. I really doubt that. But this was just, they left themselves wide open for this. So for those of you guys who didn't know, they had the tickets on sale. People went on there and reserved their seats. Right before, in fact, on the same day that Kyle was going to appear, they wiped it out and said, you're going to go have to order new seats. And of course, all the protesters who were probably tipped off, and TPUSA is saying they were, then went on and ordered up all the seats for themselves so that nobody would be able to go to the event. Stupid, 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 stupid. Okay, your turn. Am I right?
Yes.
Charge
they should
money.
at least. Exactly. Yep.
And if it was only $5, at least they would think, oh man, I don't want to contribute $5 to that little shit or whatever.
Yeah, 5 or 7 or 10 or something.
And the other thing is, why are you not charging money? Money makes the world go around. If people want to see him and are willing to pay, charge them. That's capitalism, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not even, well, I used to work on the student union board. Like, you never made as much money back as you spent for the event. But charging money actually is a barrier to entry, which for things like this is a good thing, right? Like, these people would have been much less likely to show up if you said, like, they didn't want to actually hear him, they just hated him. But you said, you got to pay $10 for it too. And the people that actually wanted to hear, they would have been like, yeah, $10 is a lot for a college student, but I want to hear him, so they'd pay it.
Even $5 would have worked.
I think it would have helped. Yeah, like charging a little bit of money, especially for college events like that. It's never about getting the money back. It's more about just making sure that the audience that shows up is the audience you want.
And keep in mind, if people have paid the money, even $1, turning them away at the door is a problem. That's a contract. And if you give it away for free, though, it's not a contract. So charge at least $1 so that when people show up and say, look, I purchased this ticket, I gave you money and you gave me something in return, and now you're not letting me in, that's a breach of contract. But if it's free, it's not.
Yep.
So Turning Point USA, man, you need to fix this.
Yeah, just charge $5. It's not that hard. Nobody's going to complain, and it's not going to make up for the money because it's not the Turning Point USA is not going to charge $5. It is the campus organizations that are hosting them that is going to charge $5. and it's not going to do a dent.
Though.
Oh yeah, I'm okay. Well, anyway, like for that particular campus, the funding for that organization, most of it's going to be done through tuition fees. That $5, it's not going to recoup the cost of hosting the person. It almost never will, and that's okay. But it does act as a barrier to entry for people that don't really want to hear the person, and they're just mad.
And
it turns out.
TPUSA needs to investigate this, because if they did tip off the certain people that this was happening, that is an infringement of civil rights. The people who paid for their tickets have a right to hear this speech, and you basically negated that through a scheme. And that's a conspiracy. I think that the TPUSA should investigate that and find out if that actually happened, because you cannot allow this to happen on a college campus.
Completely agree. Like, these college campuses need to be held accountable for their
Absolutely.
actions.
Okay. By the way, we've been going on 1 hour and 41 minutes, and I tend to agree with you. We probably need to wrap this up fairly soon. I think people are going to get kind of tired, so let's continue on here. And if we, I mean, we can't cover the entire video here. We just have to admit that. Here we go.
We'll just
Man, that is actually
the tickets
like
are probably going back to the school to reimburse what they paid to get them there.
Oh well.
Knowing the story, man, that is actually like a difficult one, man. That is very controversial.
This is extremely controversial. I'm not gonna lie. Y'all know how we lean and everything, and I can't even like say.
I can't co-sign on this one.
Even though, okay, so like in a court of law, he was tried. It was self-defense. Okay, boom, that's done. But what makes him, such a? I was like, why does?
I don't know, man. I think it's
like. See how that is not like a school university speaking thing.
Yeah, no, definitely not. They probably just booked him for.
You think he's part of the NRA? That's probably why.
But the real question is like, why do people like love him? And y'all said it, but like that's kind of extreme to think someone that left their states to go to another state to go to a protest to kind of act like he was security. Like,
it's weird.
It's weird. That's the wrong part to me.
I mean, people pulled up to riot and destroy stuff. He pulled up
to protect it
on the opposite end. So I mean, he's just as in the right to be there.
Yeah,
as
he is, and that's why it's kind of like he's right even doing what he did.
If we're gonna really look at it for what it is, like I understand that they have a right to protest. When you start rioting and destroying shit, there's a problem. He was equally as allowed to be there as the people who were rioting and looting and
So that's why that step kind of even cancels out, because he has the right to be there.
I assume that the outrage is probably because
Sure.
I just want to give that guy a lot of creds. He had like the guy obviously just like could look at the situation and be like, Kyle had an equal right to be there as all the people rioting. It's so insane that some people cannot grasp that. But this dude that's just looking at it straight up, this is one of the dudes that was the most skeptical about Kyle throughout the whole video.
Yes.
He still came to the conclusion like he had just as much of a right to be there as anybody else.
Right. And the other thing about it is this whole argument that he had no business being there. This is the same thing that opens up gangs to control territories, right?
Yep.
Like, what was he doing near 40th Street and Maple? He doesn't belong there.
Yeah, we don't have enough time to go through their the whole argument that people are more important than property. So.
Well, that's really not my point. The point is that nobody has the authority to tell somebody else where they can be.
Yep, exactly.
Ollie?
Exactly. I agree.
And I think these guys are seeing it.
Yeah.
They're saying, well, why can't he be there?
But it was a great thing because I think that was one of the same people that was wondering about why is Kyle there speaking? He's a controversial person, and then he also said the same thing that we're just all agreeing on is like, well, of course he had a right to be there, just like everybody else did.
Right, absolutely. I mean, yeah, the guy on the left actually kind of turned around 180 early, and the one to his left, the second one in the picture. He's coming around too.
Yeah, directly to the right. The guy to the right of him. So, we'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4. Number one, figured it out. He's like, screw it. Kyle did everything right. He came to that quick. Number two, he's like, he was kind of in the middle, but he's coming to, like, he's starting to agree with the dude to his left. Number three was the guy that I think was more skeptical. And number four is just like, I'm just trying to figure out what the fuck's going on.
All right, here we go. Let's go a little bit further.
Like he pulled up to a BLM
That
protest,
is, yeah.
which had went bad, and he had came for the intentions of protecting the stuff that they are destroying. I mean, he pulls up with a gun. People are gonna see him and be, I don't know, adverse to that. Me personally, I'm not gonna charge anyone with a fucking AR. That's just me. I'm going the opposite direction.
But we wouldn't be at no protests anyway.
You know what?
I'm just saying, if I see somebody walking around with an AR-15,
let's think about it.
In a crazy situation like some riot, I'm not going towards them or trying to be a hero. I'm leaving. I'm out of there. This shit finna get ugly.
You know how the Black Lives Matter protest outraged a lot of people that was already on the right before, So them seeing that somebody's blood could be boiling in the house looking at them protesters. It's a protest there. I'm going to just make sure they don't tear up anything. And if they tear up anything, I'll catch me in a straggler. And so some people, that might be heroic.
That's almost like being a vigilante, though, a little bit in a way.
Yeah, he is a
Okay, so a lot to unravel there. The whole idea that, there's a guy carrying a scary AR-15. I will attack him. It's just like, and you know what happens when you do? Hey, everybody out there, if you have any inclination about attacking somebody who's legally carrying an AR-15, let JoJo and Anthony teach you what happens when you do. All right? Learn from them. Learn from them.
That's what I typed in chat. I was like, guys all like, yo, I'm not stupid. If I see a dude with an AR-15 strapped to his back, I'm probably not going to try to attack him.
And I've said it many times on my
That's common
channel.
sense.
Well, but I've said it many times on my channel, though, that the AR-15 is such a powerful symbol of right wing and Second Amendment stuff. They forget it's also a dangerous weapon. And like, we're going to attack and we're going to beat the crap out of this guy for carrying his AR-15. Oh, little pointy things come out of the barrel. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they think an AR-15 bullet will make a deer explode. So if you really think that, why would you attack the guy with AR-15? You're only going to give him an excuse to shoot you with a bullet that you think is going to make you explode.
Yeah, they forget the power of it, and it's not a powerful rifle. I would say it's a modestly powerful rifle, right?
It's
but
what is it good for vermin hunting, right? Like you wouldn't want a deer hunt with an AR-15, right?
Yeah, you technically could in some states.
You could, but
it would not
probably
be my
wouldn't.
choice.
Yeah, you would choose a different, higher caliber rifle because the shot's probably not going to kill the deer.
Right. But again, the whole idea that they forget that it's a dangerous weapon because they're so overpowered by the symbolism of it. I think that's an actual legitimate psychological avenue for somebody to study. But okay. Anything else, Allie? How about you? Would you charge somebody carrying an AR-15 rifle?
Oh no, that would be stupid. And plus, they probably, I don't know. It's just that in regards to the symbol, I think it's because it's so they think it'd be doing harm because it looks so big,
It's scary looking, but I really do think that they forget that.
It has a lower caliber. Yes, exactly. It's one of the lowest calibers.
I am less scared of an AR-15. Maybe it's because I am informed on guns a little bit. I don't own a firearm right now. So like that just tells you where I'm coming from. But I'm informed enough to know that I am less scared of an AR-15, something that they have to carry, something I'm going to be able to see.
Yes, exactly. Instead of a concealed weapon.
Then I am, somebody that I don't even know that has like just a pistol. Like if somebody's walking around with an AR-15, like I know they're not going to just, I don't know, but most likely they're not just going to pop off, because if they do, it's going to be obvious and they're going to die.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, I'm more scared of the paper sack. when somebody walks in with a paper sack, that's the scary part because I mean, people who walk around with AR-15 strapped on their back or even at the ready are typically not out to do something. But the person with the paper sack, that's the dangerous one.
Nope.
And because he's going to pull out a 9mm and just start opening fire. And you know what? What is the most deadly weapon in the country? Which weapon kills more people? It's the 22 revolver. More people die from it than anything else. So, yeah, I mean, it's a symbol. And again, the dude walking through the park in Colorado with everybody gathered around him and nagging him about how scary he is, that just kind of shows you they have completely forgotten what the AR-15 is capable of doing. I mean, it's a capable weapon. It really is. It's
No,
okay.
it's very efficient. It's easy to handle. I actually watched like a video. I think it was a Crowder video where he bought two of the people on the Change My Mind things. He like took them to a gun range, uh, put them an AR-15 in their hand, and they were just like, "Well, that was great because I'm a small person and the recoil." I
It's
couldn't
very
feel it
little.
that much. And I was able to fire the shots at my target without like being disturbed too much. So that's part of the reason why the gun is so popular. Or
Oh yeah,
it's also it's modular, things like that.
yeah.
But so I compare it to
Accessories.
people being like, "Oh my god, that guy's wearing Reeboks, so he's cheating, right?" Or Nikes. Like the AR-15 is like a form factor. It's just like basketball shoes or like a certain shoe type. So like, of course, if people are wanting to use a gun for a specific purpose, it's no different than wearing shoes for the right sport.
Right. And I own a 30-06. You don't want to get shot with it. That would be rough. And
I
ask any
said
Japanese who got shot with an M1, they can tell you. But let's go ahead and move on a little bit more here because we're almost. I'm going to go ahead and shut this thing off here in a few minutes.
Yeah.
That's why it's so controversial. You know, I'm being 100.
No, you're right. He's 100%. He was 100% on some vigilante justice stuff, but he didn't pull up and open fire.
He didn't go on offense necessarily.
People charged him, and he enacted defense. And
yeah, he did.
I mean, you attack someone with a gun.
It was
he just gave you what you're looking for. Like you think.
Okay, I think this is a good point to stop because now final comments. What do you think of what they just said?
I agree with them in regards to, but he didn't finish in regards to what he was going to say.
Oh,
Yeah.
should I play a little bit more?
Yeah, go. Yeah,
He's just gonna let you beat him up. I'm just keeping it 100. If I'm in the situation, I have a weapon, and you attack me, you gonna see what that thing gonna do. Yeah. So, in that sense, I gotta say, like, he wasn't in the wrong.
Yeah.
But to pull up,
that's not the debate. We're all on the same page with that. The debate is
why is he speaking?
At colleges?
Yeah.
You know, what makes him?
Okay.
Yep. I actually completely agree with him because that's not the debate. The debate is why he's at college campuses. And what they don't understand is exactly what I said before we even played this video. Kyle Rittenhouse is not famous for killing two people. He's famous for having the most obviously documented with video evidence case of self-defense to ever, like as a case study, you'll never see a better self-defense case than what Kyle Rittenhouse would have.
It's on video.
You're never going to see another case because every single shot he fired was so controlled and so obviously self-defense. Yet he had to spend how many months in prison? It was like 8 months. It was a lot. How many?
86 days. 3 months. I think it was 86 or 87 days.
Yeah, anything more than 1 day is too much for what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse. That's why he's famous. It has nothing to do with that he killed people. It has everything to do with he exercised his right to defend himself and has been persecuted for it ever since. If the left really wanted Kyle Rittenhouse to go away, they just stopped talking about him. And then TP USA would just drop him because he has nothing else to cling to. I'm sorry, Kyle, if you're listening. You're not that smart. You're not that politically attuned. I'm not either. Like I couldn't do that. You should be doing other stuff with your life right now. Unfortunately, I don't blame him. Like they put him in a position where he should take advantage of it because they made him out to be a martyr, and there's people willing to help defend him. Right?
Yeah. The left
Uh,
made him famous.
exactly. It has nothing to do with right wingers. One like thinking that people should be able to show up with AR-15s and just kill people. Nothing to do with that at all, and it has everything to do with how the left treated him. When I say left, I don't mean Democrats. I mean those other people. I think.
This is where liberal versus left kind of comes into play, right?
Yeah.
Allison, how about you? Let's have some final comments because we're getting up on the 2 hour deal, and I agree. I think we should need to keep it below 2 hours.
Oh no, I agree with what you guys are thinking and saying.
What about the guys on the show?
Oh yeah, they're I like them. I mean, but the thing is they need to do a little bit more research before they start, saying. But
No,
and they're
I
gonna
actually
maybe I think they're going to be talking in regards to, are they going to talk about why is he going to be on campus? Is that what they're going to go into? I don't know.
Well, we could have another stream where we could play the second half of this. It's not a problem.
Oh,
Would you
I
be
could.
interested?
Well, I'll probably just listen in after this.
Oh, okay,
I'll
you've had
finish
enough
it
of
up.
these
Yeah,
guys.
I'll listen.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
obviously we can't go on all night with them, and
Yeah.
I think it's great that we talked at length about what they're saying. My opinion of them is they're wanting to learn.
Yep.
Yes.
No,
And go ahead.
I would say the greatest part about this is it's actually watching because I'm not a normal person when it comes to these things, right? Like I pay attention to the stuff nonstop. It's like a hobby of mine. I've been doing it for years. But these guys obviously seem like I said, like before, in their free time, they're playing Madden. They're not watching YouTube videos about Kyle Rittenhouse. And so they come with the stream, they're talking about it, and they say they're like actively researching information. They're coming to conclusions that are completely rational, and I love them for it. I completely love them for it.
Yeah, I was
They,
very happy with what they were saying.
Even the ones that even the conclusions they came to that I'm like I disagree with because they didn't have the right information with the information they were dealing with, like it makes sense. And as
and
they
they
go
did the
on, they
research.
keep changing their mind.
Yeah, they're doing the research in regards to what's going on versus the other ones that are students that are just bashing Kyle, saying he's a murderer. They probably didn't do any research.
And they're willing to change their perspective based on the information coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And
Because they have no,
that's all we
they
can
have,
ask for, right?
yeah, they have no emotional or political ties to it. And this is where, like, sometimes I have to check myself and be like, am I the brainwashed one? And then I see guys like this, and I was like, yes, they're looking at this exactly how I did when I first saw the information.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I think we're done for the night. Hey, Kayla, I don't know what happened to you, but we wanted you on. Let's do enough. We'll do another stream here in a few days, and we'll maybe cover the rest of this, and also some of those links that people have sent me. I'm sorry that we weren't able to get to it, but I really do think I'm getting kind of tired, and I agree. If we need to keep these things below 2 hours, just for the sake of it. Hey, thanks for both of you for coming on. I really appreciate it. We had a good time.
Anytime I'm available, Johnny, you can ask me on, and I will certainly
yeah,
show up, even
absolutely.
though I am probably the least important person that that could possibly be on stream. So
What?
thanks for having
No. We're all important.
yeah, thanks.
We're always
Yeah,
important. All of
I
us.
just want to say thanks for having me on, man. I really
Not a
appreciate it.
problem at all. We enjoyed having you, and you bring a great perspective. And you too, Allie. And I know nobody fights harder on Twitter than Allison. Nobody.
Kayla and I, yes.
Oh,
And there's quite a few handful of us, yes.
okay. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I appreciate it. Take care.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Later.
Okay, we're done.
Later. Bye.